RogueCon 23. That's right. It is here. It's not back. It's here. It's the first one. Join the ultimate celebration of digital content with its creators, passionate fans, and industry experts. It is all happening in downtown Waco across multiple venues, January 20th through the 22nd of 2023. Now, if you want to go, you got to get tickets, and tickets are on sale at RogueCon23.com. That's RogueCon, RogueCon 23.com. Be there. I'm going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. Let's go. Coming up on the Payoff. This next guest has been in my life for 35 years, 36. I am unfortunately that old, and I loved baseball as a kid. Calvin Schiraldi was a relief pitcher in the major leagues. He started out as a starting pitcher. His book, The Arena, which is all related to the man in the arena, the Theodore Roosevelt quote. I mean, this is a guy who is minding his business, and 35 years later, still getting emails about the World Series in 1986. And we all know crazy rabid sports fans. I'm from Philadelphia, but his take on being on the other side of that, and how as a sensitive alcoholic, he would open the emails and read them. And now he hits delete. And this is a conversation you don't want to delete. You want to listen to this. At times, hang in there. I get a little selfish. We talk some sports. So just hang in there, because the message is unbelievable, and he's an inspiring dude. But first, let's get some inspiration from California, Kevin Souza.
Hey, what's going on?
Calvin, what's up, man?
Oh, just sitting in my car with AC running.
I know in Texas, it's October, but that doesn't mean it's fall, right?
No, there's no fall here. It's humid as hell outside right now.
So right now it's me and Mike. Mike, say hi. Can you hear you?
How's it going?
I like for him to talk, so it's not too creepy. He's not just back there lurking. But Calvin, man, I really appreciate you doing this.
Oh, no problem.
All right, so Calvin Schiraldi, what is your sobriety date?
March 7th, 2019.
Okay, and that was not your first crack at this thing, right?
It was not. I had a crack in 2015, or actually 2014, that lasted 99 days, and that was I wasn't ready to do that then. So it didn't take.
That's what I was the same way. I tried to get sober when I was like 27, and I just wasn't ready. Luckily I didn't go back out and die, because that's what can happen. But I just wasn't ready. And first of all, the book is called The Arena, and it is about your life, and it is compelling. And it is, I'm a sports guy. Of course, I knew you back when. We'll get into your career. Obviously, I love to talk about your sobriety and your road to recovery. You said 99 days, that number. I remember in the book, you just put it, and it's so alcoholic. You put it so well. You're like, I don't even remember what it was that made me drink again on that 99th day. You're like, the mail could have been late, whatever. But at that point, it just didn't take much for you.
It took nothing. Yeah, I was doing my group stuff, but I wasn't doing the group stuff. I was just going to see, going to meetings and stuff. I was basically white knuckling it, and that's not. I'm not the kind that can do that, and so. Like I said, when we're drinking, we're drinking to celebrate. We're drinking because we're pissed off. We're drinking because the freaking sun came up. We're drinking because the moon's up, whatever. And that day that was the end of it. I just started, it started with one that ended up a lot more than one. So, that's just the way we are.
Yeah.
Can't stop.
And it goes on for a couple of years until you finally get sober in 2019. Before we get to the recovery, and the career, I want to go backwards. So you grew up in Austin.
Yes.
And you said you said you weren't really an outgoing young guy.
Never. I was shy. I was shy around people. I was brash on the athletic field.
And that's what we talk about. You talk in your book about having that competitive spirit that was fueled kind of by your father. Talk about that relationship a little bit.
He was my idol. It was like because I knew he was a college basketball player, college track, and you idolize your dad, and I did that, and it just seemed like could nothing I did was good enough. I don't know. I don't think that was the case, but that's what it felt like. That I did everything to try to get the approval, and it only really came one time.
What one time?
The state championship in baseball. I would remember sitting on the fence, and after the game was over with, and he came up and he shook my hand, and he said, "You did a good job today," and I will never forget that. And I think I kept trying to get that feeling again, and it just never came again.
Was there alcoholism in your family?
My dad was an alcoholic, but he never said he was. I believe that. I don't know if I don't know if it's genetic or what. I don't. I have a problem with genetics and all that kind of stuff that you can be, because I think once your genes are there, they're there. But growing up, it was I started with walking around. Dad's got a beer open, and I take a sip when I'm little. That's how I start. I guess I got the flavor for beer that way. I don't know. It's an acquired taste. I acquired it pretty dang early, just by taking sips of dad's beer when I was little.
I could relate a lot to what you said, dude. Like, we met briefly after you got a chance to speak at a meeting in Austin, and I'm a tall guy like you, and I was skinny. I was awkward, and so socially it was difficult for me to like at least feel like I fit in.
Yeah.
And I was an athlete, and I wasn't quite the athlete you were, not even close. I shouldn't say quite, but I was an athlete, and I started to hang my head on that. But I was awkward until, at least socially, until I started to drink. Was that the case for you, or were you so good at sports that was like your conduit socially?
That was my in. Athletics was my in. Alcohol was my personality, I guess, because it allowed me. I don't like talking to people. I'm very guarded in my conversations, or I was very guarded in my conversations, and alcohol just it loosens the tongue, and I was able to with alcohol I was able to hold conversations and not get nervous or whatever it is, distracted. But yeah, I mean, it loosened the lips quite a bit.
And you were a phenomenal athlete. You went to Westlake. That's where Drew Brees went. Sam Ellinger. Back in the day, Kelly Gruber played baseball with you there. He played in the major leagues for a while. You talk about in your book that having that competitive fire, that desire, that overall desire to win. Where did that come from?
I think it came from my dad. Growing up, trying to beat my dad. What you hear today is everybody gets a trophy kind of thing. that to me, that's wrong. My dad never let me win at anything, and it was always trying to beat him at ping pong, at pool, at basketball, at whatever we did competitively against each other. I had to win. And I think that's where it came from, because I did the same thing with my son, and he is very competitive. I didn't let him win at anything. So the first time he won something, he won a rifle shooting contest, and he kept the target, and he gave it to me as a Christmas present.
Wow.
He had it cranked, gave it to me as a Christmas present, because that's the first time he beat me at something. So I think that's what fueled me to have that desire to. I mean, but people say they hate to lose. Everybody hates to lose, but I hate losing more than I like winning.
And that goes into your career and into your story of sobriety. You said that your dad kind of welded winning into your soul.
Had to.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's quite the way to put it. I mean, that's intense.
Well, it's because you're looking for his approval and trying to beat him at something, and the thing about it is not giving up. You want to, he knocks you down once, you freaking get your ass back up, and you go right after him again. He knocks your ass down again, and you go right back after him. What happens today is kids get knocked down and they freaking quit. And I refused. I had to beat him at ping pong.
Well, and then you mentioned in the book, I'll cut you off because I don't want to forget, you beat his ass in ping pong and he never plays you again and doesn't even say congratulations.
No. And it's like, okay, because he knew he couldn't beat me then. That was the thing. It was like that. I compared it to. He quit. He said, okay, you've got this one now. Move on to something else.
So you experienced great success, right? Like playing eventually, right, against him. You said that was the most exhilarating moment at the time, and you'll never forget it. You get into college. You go to UT. You're playing at UT Austin in your backyard. What's the drinking like at that point?
Pretty high. I mean, it was, at 14, I was 6'2", and I had some facial hair, and the drinking age was 18. So I was able to go in and buy in high school at my sophomore year, at a store. So at UT, we stayed in the dorms our freshman year, and then we moved into apartments, and it just, it was in our refrigerator all the time.
What you played, by the way, on your team? It was you, Roger Clemens, Spike Owen was on your team.
Yeah, Mike Capel, Kirk Killingsworth. We were freaking good.
You guys were loaded, and you go to the College World Series, and this is the beginning of, when you talk about, and your book's called The Arena, and it's based off the man in the arena. And we'll get to that and how that weaves into your life and how that weaves into your sobriety and who you've become today. But, you get to college and you start to experience failure for the first time, because that's what happens when you're in the arena. You don't win all the time. You start to experience heartache. And one of the things, a major moment that you conveyed in the book and that jumped out at me is your guys are playing Wichita State in the College World Series. And it's the third inning, and a pitch gets away from you, and what exactly happens?
What in that instance, it was I was trying to go inside with a fastball. We were ahead, and it got away from me, and it ended up hitting Kevin Penner in the face, and he's laying there on the ground and not moving, and the thoughts that run through your mind, you almost killed a guy here. And, it's just like, it's unnerving. And the time, it was a good 10, 15 minutes. And then you resume the game, and it's like, you don't have the fire. The fire's not there that you had when the game started, just because of the circumstances that happened. And then got my ass kicked, and that was something I wasn't used to having.
And
it didn't happen very often.
When you guys, and when that happens, or do you notice at the time you guys end up losing the game, you don't win that College World Series. When that happens, that off season, do you notice any more the drinking elevates a little bit, or do you notice you're using it differently?
I think I didn't notice that I was using it differently. It was still back then it was for fun. It was I never really drank to get drunk. It was I drank to relax, to forget something, to just it's just
to fucking breathe.
Yeah, to breathe. And that I think that's kind of like the hook that alcohol has is the feeling that you get when you're doing it. Like at that age, it's like, okay, I can do this, and it will relieve the pain. It'll let me breathe. And then if you keep doing that, it's like taking pills that, okay, you start off at 100 milligrams something, and then by the time you're 20 years later, you're at freaking 500 milligrams just to keep the same feeling. Alcohol's the same way. It just takes more and more to get that feeling, and then it's got you where you got to have it.
Yeah, it's a progressive disease,
right? And that's what they were doing it for 50 years, 45 years. It's a long ass time to be a drunk.
I'll tell you, you didn't have it easy though, Calvin, because you showed great resolve. You lose the College World Series in '82, but you come back and you kick ass and you win the College World Series in '83. You have a fantastic senior year. Did you feel like, was that a steam building for you from a mental perspective? Like, hey, I've bounced back.
Yeah, because I mean that's kind of like the whole that's kind of like my progression through life now that I can look back. Although winning the College World Series, that's all great, but like the way it happened. Okay, we won the College World Series. I got a week and a half to celebrate, and then I'm off to a job, baseball. You get drafted, and then you go somewhere else, and then you go to a place where nobody really gives a shit about what you just done.
Yeah,
and so you're back to being a freshman. Essentially, you're being a freshman in the minor league, and you got to start all over again.
Where'd you so you get drafted by the Mets? You go to like Port St. Lucie for spring training, and then where did you go?
No. We were way back then. We're going to St. Pete.
Oh, you're going to St. Pete? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in St. Pete. Actually, I went to Jackson. I went to AA out of college.
Okay.
And didn't fare very well, and then went down to Lynchburg and played on the best minor league team probably ever. We won more games that year in Lynchburg. Lynchburg won more games than anybody in baseball, including in the major league. We won 99 games.
Wow.
Out of 140. And we had five pitchers from that team the next year were in the big league.
Who are some of the pitchers?
Yeah, Dwight Gooden, myself, Wes Gardner, Jay Tibbs, and Jeff Bettendorf.
I got to ask, what was it like to play with Doc Gooden at that age?
He was amazing. It was. I mean, at that time he was 18, 19. 19 or 18.
He was I think he was 19 when he got to the big league, so maybe he was 18.
He was 18. Watching him throw, it was a man among boys. He was awesome and a tremendous individual. Just a great, humble kid. He was awesome. And
so, you were pretty good too. So you end up you go up to the big league club with the Mets. What's the drinking like along the time in the minor leagues and
yeah, it's all the time.
Explain to people who don't know, Calvin, at that point in time, because it's so much different now in sports. When you would finish a game, like what happens in the locker room? Like, what is the culture like?
there's okay. When I first I made it to the major leagues in '84, and when you walk into the major league locker room, they have a separate room that is the food room or whatever. There's a cooler. There's a cooler that has Coke, like the Coca-Cola coolers. There's two coolers that have beer. There is a candy rack like you see at a grocery store. There's two tables. One has pastries and cakes, and then the other one has they have food brought in after the game because it's 11 o'clock, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, so they feed you after a game, and it's free. Free is really good, and all you can freaking drink, all you can eat. I was a September call up in '84, and I put on 18 pounds in a month. I like free. Free's good.
And the drinking obviously picks up with your career picking up. How is the pressure affecting you and the anxiety? Your first couple years playing in New York, and you're with the team as they continue to rise up the ranks, and of course they're going to become a historic team.
Well, that and if you saw the 30 for 30 that was on,
yeah, it was awesome.
The plane rides were just and that's it's not just the Mets. I mean, granted, not everybody destroys the plane, but the plane rides are it's whatever you want to drink. It's sitting in the back playing cards. It's drinking until you get to the hotel. I mean, especially like if you're going East Coast to West Coast or vice versa, it's you're drinking until you're going from West Coast to East Coast. You're drinking until you land, and that's usually 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
And they talked about it on that documentary. A lot of guys were taking speed just to kind of to wake themselves up or to see the ball. One of the guys talked about it like you'd
to get ready.
Yeah,
because I mean it's a grind, and it's more so a grind for the everyday players.
As a pitcher, did you
really good are the everyday players.
As a pitcher, did you ever take that just kind of because it was part of the culture?
I did not. I did it one time for the drive home, driving from New York to Mississippi.
You made it okay.
And I made it fine. It was that's the only time I ever did any of that stuff.
How is your career going? When you get to New York, take us there. You spend what, like 2.5 years with the Mets?
I was drafted in '83 and then traded after the '85 season.
Okay.
So, I had a great time with the Mets. I mean, I was up and down, especially in '85. I got a couple of times. I got put on one time I got put on the disabled list. I took a line drive off the toe, and it broke my toe. And that kind of, I did stuff mechanically that trying to work through it. Did stuff mechanically that wasn't very good. It screwed me up a little bit. And then once I got traded to Boston, I went to spring training and just completely sucked in spring training. My arm hurt. But then, I go to AAA and they moved me from starter to the pen, and things started to click a little bit. So I've had some success in AAA, and then, got called up in '86 to the Red Sox.
What is that like to be in a bullpen and to know at any time they can call your number and you have to parachute in now to a massive pressure situation?
I at the time I really liked it because I was, like I said, I was successful. It was the first time I'd ever been a reliever, and I was having success in AAA. And then when I first got called up, I started to have success. And I was like, okay, I can get used to doing this. And then, it's like I never really considered myself a reliever. I always really liked starting. I like starting the game. I like being able to prepare for the game. As a reliever, you can't prepare. It's just freaking go in, balls out, balls to the wall, go. And be damned what happened, because if you get your ass kicked on one day, you might be back in the next day, and you can't let stuff linger. Whereas if you're starting, you can analyze what went wrong, make an adjustment in the bullpen, and then be ready to go 3 days later. As a reliever, you can't do that. It's ball to the wall all the time.
So how does that affect the drinking at all? I mean, or were you just going to drink how you were going to drink?
I was going to drink how I was going to drink. I mean, granted, it did help. It helped a lot just to be able to forget what a bad outing. It was great. It was great to just go out and say, okay, have 12 or 14 beers and just forget about it, and here we go the next day.
At any point are you thinking, because as an alcoholic, I would do the same thing, drink 12 to 14 beers or whatever I get my hands on. At any point, you're a young guy too, and I think you undersell that in your book, but you're very young when all this is happening. And are you ever thinking like, shit, I had 15 beers last night, now I'm back on the mound playing against the Angels? Like,
Never. That never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Because it was like, for some, what is it? That's not an odd reason. It's like it's comparing myself to the next guy. I'm 15 beers in, and you're only at 10. Come on, pick it up. Let's go.
Yeah.
I guess the competitive spirit, or whatever. Like, but you're doing it with beer cans. It's crazy.
Well, and the intensity gets ratcheted up, right, when you get to the 86 playoffs. Yeah. At this point in time, baseball was on fire. People that are younger and don't understand this, baseball was America's pastime. Everybody was watching baseball. The Saturday game of the week, if there was ever a game on, Monday Night Baseball, and the playoffs, the ratings were out of control. Everybody's watching. So you get to the playoffs against the Angels, and we're day baseball now. It happens so infrequently. We get lucky with the playoffs, right? Because it's October. But you're playing against the Angels. Tell us, you have like a LeBron James type memory of you're a savant when it comes to your memory. Walk us through the 86, ALCS and the pressures of that in your role.
In my role, because like games 1 and 2, I wasn't in, because both of them were lopsided. One for them, one for us. And then game 3, I haven't pitched very much, so I go in for an inning of work or an inning plus, and end up throwing a lot more pitches than I needed to. A fly ball gets caught in the lights, and we don't make a play, and so I end up throwing a lot more pitches than was anticipated, and we end up losing. We go to game 4. Roger throws a freaking gem of a game, and we're up 3-0 going into the 9th. And the first batter, Doug DeCente, hits a home run off of him, and so now it's 3-1. Next guy gets a hit. Got runners at first and second, and 2 outs. And nobody out. So they bring me in, and I give up another fly ball that gets caught in the lights. One run scores. So I got runners at second and third, nobody out. And the thing about it is if we lose this game, it's over with. Nobody comes back from 3-1 down.
Yeah.
I walk the next batter intentionally to load the bases, and then I strike out. I get 2 consecutive strikeouts, and then I'm facing Brian Downing, and I get ahead of him 1-2, and Rich, my catcher,
Rich Gedman.
Rich Gedman throws down fastball, and I went, no, I'm not gonna throw this. I'm gonna throw the best curveball of my life, and I shook him off, and sure enough, I try to throw something that I'm not used to throwing, and I hit him with it. That lets in the tying run, and then all hell's broken loose in California, and we don't score. I get Reggie Jackson hits a ground ball to second base to end the inning, and go back out in the 10th. Nothing happens. In the 11th inning, we don't score. Come back in.
And you're still pitching.
I'm still pitching. This is my third inning after an inning plus the night before. This is my third inning. End up giving up a run. We lose. And then we go to, and the game's over with at probably about 11:30.
And so what's that night like for you? Are you drinking that night?
Yeah, heavily.
Okay.
Well, I'm heavily at the ballpark, and then I'm going back, and
So you were in the clubhouse in Anaheim in the visitors' locker room, just throwing them back.
Yeah, after I spend, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes talking to the press, because, the thing about it is the guys are telling me to go to the trainer's room. Trainer's room is always
The sanctuary.
safe place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a safe place where reporters couldn't go. And I said, no, I screwed this up, so I'm going to talk to them. And by the time I got back to the hotel, it was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I've got a good little buzz working, and I'm sitting there and with my wife and just staring at the ceiling. And I pick up my Bible and do what I would normally do, just read a chapter, and it just so happens that it shows up to Romans 5:3, and that quote is to be thankful for your transgressions, because through that you learn perseverance. Perseverance builds character, and character hope, and hope is what we have in the Lord. And as I'm thinking about that, I'm going, okay, I just had a really big transgression tonight. What can I learn from it? Blah blah blah. And then my phone rings, and like I said at the meeting, we don't have cell phones back then.
Yeah.
Nobody has a cell phone. It's the phone in the hotel room. And I know I put a block on it because every time you go on a road, you block your phone so nobody can call through, because you get idiots that'll call and give you death threats and all this kind of stuff. So I know I had a block on my phone, but my phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's David Jones. He's a fireman in San Francisco, and he just called. He just said, "My name's David Jones, and I just saw what happened and watched the game, and just wanted to let you know that the guys at the fire station here were all praying for you." And I went, "Oh, okay, thank you." And I was like, "Okay, God, you're talking to me here now. What is it you want?" So I sat on that all night, and then not granted, but the next day we had a freaking 12 o'clock day game. So it was a real short night.
And you're what are you down 3-1?
We're down 3-1, starting going to game 5, and they've got Mike Witt on the mound.
And who's their ace, and then they go up big on you guys.
They went up 5-2, and to the top of the 9th inning, and we get a base runner on, and like it's funny because in the 9th, it's 5-2 in the 9th inning. They've got all the policemen are in the dugouts. The policemen are on horseback out in the bullpen. I mean, the shit that's being said, the shit talking is just it's ridiculous.
The shit talking how? Like they're talking shit to you guys?
Oh yeah, the cops, the fans, they're all talking shit.
The cops.
Yeah, the freaking cops are talking shit. So we got a runner on, and Don comes up, Baylor, and hits a home run, and so now it's 5-4, and we're still like, oh damn, we got 2 outs. They bring in Rich Gedman comes up against Witt, who I think we had 4 hits on the day. Rich had 3 of them, and so they pulled Mike Witt and bring in
Donnie Moore.
No, they bring in Gary Lucas to face Gedman because he's left-handed. And Getty was like 0 for 12 lifetime against Lucas. Well, the first pitch hits Getty, so he's on first base. And they bring in Donnie Moore, and Dave Henderson comes up, and Donnie throws a great pitch. Dave just goes down and freaking golfs it, and it's a freaking home run, and we're up freaking 6-5, and we're in the bullpen. We're just freaking these cops are we're unmerciful to these cops. I mean, we basically say, get the fuck out of our bullpen now. We got horses shitting everywhere in the bullpen. It's a circus, and the stadium is dead quiet. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. Well, to the Angels' credit, they came back in the bottom of the ninth and scored a run to tie it. Nothing happens in the 10th. And then in the 11th inning, we scored a run. Dave Henderson hits a sac fly, and it's 7-6. And they bring me in to start the 9th inning. And I wasn't supposed to pitch that day because I'd pitched the 2 previous days in a row. And
is that a shock when they're like, "Hey, you're in"? You're like, "Fuck."
Well, it wasn't fuck. It was like, okay, now I got a chance again.
Okay.
I got a chance to right this wrong. Well, whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
I got you. Shot of redemption.
There you go. Shot of redemption. And I faced the same 2 guys that I struck out the night before to start off with. I strike them both out. Same pitches, same count. And then Brian Downing comes up again. And I have him 1 and 2 again, and I do not take off the fastball this time, and he pops it up, and the game's over with. And you just thought we won the World Series. And so we know we're going back to Boston, and we know we're going to win now.
Yeah.
It's like now it's 3-2. Our flight to back to Boston was probably similar to the Mets. The one that's on the 30 for 30 only
after they beat Houston.
Oh yeah, only we didn't destroy a plane, but it was a party, and knowing that we were gonna, we got back to Boston, we knew we were gonna win.
And you guys take care of business in Boston.
And we light them up in Boston, yeah.
RogueCon 23. That's right, it is here. It's not back, it's here. It's the first one. Join the ultimate celebration of digital content with its creators, passionate fans, and industry experts. It is all happening in downtown Waco across multiple venues, January 20th through the 22nd of 2023. Now, if you want to go, you got to get tickets, and tickets are on sale at RogueCon23.com. That's RogueCon, RogueCon 23.com. Be there. I'm going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't right, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.
And so then now you're going into the World Series, and this is when your alcoholism in real life and the competitive fire it all collides. For people who don't know, the Mets were the best team in a very long time, right? Their historic team had like 104, 106 wins. 108. Shit. Okay, so you go in there. And, Game 6 is the game everybody talks about, Calvin, right? And you are, it's one of those things like when I'm doing this, I'm like, well, I'm not so sure if I want to, broach that topic with them because, you don't want to be a dick. That's like where you're, and there's also fear in me asking you about it. But then I read your book and it's the first thing you talk about. And it seems like it's been cathartic for you since you've gotten sober to talk about what happened, because at the end of the day, you're a human being. It's a game. But what came on the heels of that? You mentioned when you lost in '82 in Texas, you were able to rebound to go into '83 because there wasn't a complete circus around you. But what happened in '86 is just a crushing blow.
Right, no doubt.
You have a chance to win the World Series. I mean, to be a part of it, and you guys don't win.
Yeah, and like I said in the book, it's and it took me a long time to what is it? I'm trying to not rationalize, but to think about it, because I always after the World Series, I took the blame, and I still take the blame. I mean, I had an 0-2 count on a hitter, and I did something that I hadn't done, that I don't remember ever doing, is giving up an 0-2 hit, because I could care less. Hit the backstop.
Yeah.
But just don't give up an 0-2 hit, because I mean that was ingrained in Boston with the kangaroo court. If you gave up an 0-2 hit, it cost you $100. It cost you, if it was a double, it was $200. If it was a triple, it was $300. If it was a home run, it was $400. And if it was a grand slam, it was $500.
Okay.
Court. So that's kind of ingrained. You don't give up an 0-2 hit. So I don't care where the damn ball goes. Well, I did, and for me, that is, I'm fine with that. What gets me is the narrative that people have said is
that you were scared, that you weren't up for it.
Scared, I'm a loser, I'm blah blah blah, and that's coming from people who don't know anything about it.
People who have never been in the arena.
Right, and I let that, and that's my fault, because I let that fester in me, and that's why the book itself was very therapeutic, writing it, and it took failing at getting sober the first time. It took getting sober, and then thinking about the life that I've had. It's been a really good life, and I just never really had the chance to enjoy it.
Yeah, and now you're sober, and you are.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I can tell. When you're in the World Series in '86, and everything unravels, you guys lose Game 7. What is that like for you to again, like, sober or not, dude? And this doesn't go for everybody. Like, I don't know. I don't think. First of all, you're 24, okay, when all of this happens, and you said that it kind of like, you're such a true competitor. This thing haunted you. But I also see this as like an alcoholic. Like you said, all the insults stuck to you like Velcro.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because everywhere, after that, every game, just walking to the bullpen, you're hearing stuff. Sitting in the bullpen, you're hearing stuff. On the road, at home, even, you got the other fans, the other team's fans there. So you're hearing the same shit all the time, and you're never really, you just hear it all the time.
And then lucky for you, when you retire about 10 years later, we get social media and the internet. So there you go. And now people are email you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. There's the quote that I love, Charlie Strong. What he said is the social media is the downfall of society. I believe that, because I mean, I have my cell phone. I don't have Facebook. I don't have any of that stuff, because people ask me, like, when we were talking about doing this book, we went to a publisher, and they said, "Well, how many followers do you have?" And I said, I have none.
And you can almost say it with a little bit of pride.
There are a lot of people in America who know who I am.
Yeah.
They probably all hate me, but that's fine. But they do know my name.
When 86 happens, how does that affect your personal life after that series of events?
That's when the drinking really got. That's when it medicinal. That was my go-to all the time, because my thinking was, I hated bringing work home. I hated bringing the game home to my wife, and so in order to forget, it was like I would drink heavily, and that would allow me to get through to the next day. And because I really didn't want and I know we've talked about this a lot with her, or I talked a lot, is she just wanted to be a part of that, and I didn't want her to be a part of that. I didn't want her to feel the way I was feeling.
And so the alcohol builds up a wall between you and your wife and other people on the outside.
Yes, and it was a safety wall for me.
And how does it, like, first of all, I want to ask too, what's it like in the locker room after Game 6? I mean, for a young man, and you're, basically, Calvin, you gave up 3 base hits. Okay.
Yeah.
But for at the end of the day, you look at it from, it gets this complete, it's on steroids because it's the World Series and it's Game 6. But you're in that locker room, in that clubhouse. What is that like emotionally?
It's very quiet. It's very, it's the reverse of what happened in Game 5 of the ALCS. We knew exactly what California felt like. And so it's kind of eerie to be able to feel what those guys were feeling, 2 weeks later, a week and a half later. We know exactly what they were feeling. And, it's okay, we're not going to let what happened to California happen to us. Well, yeah, it does. Yeah,
it happens. So I'm back to your life with your wife after all this. So you're drinking a lot. And did anything ever happen? Did you ever have any major consequences?
No. The good Lord was watching out for me for some reason. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have any DWIs, no accidents. He was watching over.
What do you think?
He had a plan.
He did, obviously. Do you think it shortened your career at all, the drinking?
I don't know. I don't think so, because what happened, everybody drinks, or not everybody, but most everybody drinks in baseball, and they don't worry about the consequences afterwards.
Especially back then.
Got me out, right? And the thing that got me out was my arm kind of gave out on me, and after I got released.
You play for the Mets. You go to the Cubs. You go to the Padres, right?
Yeah, Mets, Red Sox. Cubs, Padres. After I got released from the Padres, I did the minor league thing 1 year, and I got called up to the Rangers the following year for like 2 weeks, and then got sent down. And then I didn't think I was done, and then so I'm trying to find a scout in 92. I'm trying to find a scout to come watch me throw. But one day I throw the ball really well, and then the next day he comes and watches. It's like I literally couldn't break 80 miles an hour, and my arm didn't hurt, but the ball just wasn't coming out of my hand. And I went, I don't know what the heck's happening. Well, the next day I couldn't lift my arm, and come to find out that I tore my labrum somewhere, sometime. I just don't know when it happened, but I had a torn labrum, and that was the end of it.
Do you think that alcohol kind of killed that competitive spirit you talked about?
It killed my competitive spirit for baseball.
And
because I growing up, baseball's a game, and then at some point, sometime through all the from 83 to 90, it's like, okay, it's not a game anymore. It's a business. And once I realized that, then the fire for it, not that it went out, it changed. And I don't know. Alcohol had a lot to do with that, I'm sure. But I guess alcohol changed my personality, which changed that instance. Because as far as competitiveness goes, with my team out here, when I was coaching, it would be like I would throw inter squad, and I'm trying to strike these kids out.
Yeah. And were you coaching at Westlake?
No, I'm coaching at a private school in Austin.
Okay.
And I'm trying to strike these kids out because that's just the way I am. I play them in basketball in the gym. I don't let them win. They're not gonna beat me.
So you still got that. You still got that fire. It was cool, even watching you on the 30 for 30. And one thing, and I know you did this before you got sober, but it really comes through now that you are. Dude, you don't say no to any of these. You know, if it's of the right ilk, you know, you'll say yes to any of these interviews, whatever. And you're on the 30 for 30. You pop up, and you're just like, that was bullshit. I wasn't scared, you know. And it's and you say with conviction, you could tell it's genuine. And you're always there. One of the things that I thought in your book that was super interesting was you said you missed opportunities for like that catharsis. You know, in 2016, Kurt Menefee is writing a book about, great losses or whatever. And he comes to see you and you know, at this point in time in 2014, you'd already been brought to your knees by alcohol, but you're telling him your whole story and you don't bring it up.
No.
And that's as an alcoholic, right? That's a huge part of you. What is happening to you then that you still can't, you still can't let that part of your personality out there?
Like, okay, it's the same as going 99 days. It's like, okay, I went 99 days, so I'm not an alcoholic. And so I quit for 99 days. Yes, I'm drinking like a fish. 2 weeks later, after I broke my sobriety, so I can quit. It's like I can quit anytime, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready to do it. This last time when I did finally get sober, it's like I am done. They talk about like I don't know the 10-step promise that says that alcohol will just go away. The urge will go away, and it did. The urge never went away the first time.
Well, you have to surrender to have it go away,
Right.
and as such a competitor and such a talented athlete and a guy who ascended to such lofty heights, is that hard for you to finally surrender?
It's impossible, or not impossible. It's super hard. But you get to the point where you're so down, it's like I got no other choice, and that's the learning experience. And learning the second time around from the group is okay. I want what these guys have. How do I get it? I never had that feeling the first time in. It's like I need to have. I need what these guys have. How do I get it? And then
you were all in. And those guys at those meetings, they talk about you very fondly. And you can tell right now from talking to you, you just put it right out there, dude. And that is the way, for me, that's the way that I get well, is there's no, when I'm ready, there's no bullshit. Here it is. This is what's going on inside me. And it's freeing.
Yeah. It's like a weight being off your shoulder. If you find the right guys that you can actually say that to, it's such a relief. And for me, I don't want to let myself down, but I don't want to let these guys down by going out again. That's kind of the way I looked at it when I first started. Was if I come back into this room and have gone out, I'm going to be. It's embarrassing. It's blah 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 blah, and I just didn't want that feeling. I wasn't gonna let them down.
Well, I want to get back to. I got you for a little bit longer here. I could keep you all day, and I've been selfish here because I've gone way deep into the sports thing. But one thing that you mentioned in the book is in 2014, you come home and your wife confronts you, and you leave home. She confronts you about drinking, and you leave, and you drive down to the ranch I guess you had in Kerrville, which is outside San Antonio for people that don't know Texas, and you're thinking about taking your own life. And the reason I bring that up is because being a guy who just knows a little bit about sports history, I was always fascinated. Donnie Moore, who gave up that home run, he took his own life.
Yeah.
And I don't know what role drug played. I don't know if you know, but like, now you're at the same intersection, dude. And what happens when you don't take your life and you decide to turn it over, and whether it's keep fighting or bring God in, what happens on those couple nights before you go back home?
I'm driving, and I hear a song on the radio, and because the whole thing is I looked into my wife's eyes and saw the hurt and the disappointment again for like the 100th time, and I left. I'm driving down the road, and a song comes on, and it was like, and the words were,
What's the song?
That's the thing, I can't find it.
Okay.
But the gist of the song is, "Mama, what did he say to make you stay?" It's like, to me, that hit me really hard. What did he say to make you stay? Because I know she was going to leave. I knew Deb was going to leave, and so that song kind of gave me a hope that I could say something or do something that would make her stay. And so that curbed my intent of what that drive was about. And so then it was just trying to figure me out for the time that I was gone. And that was that led to my first attempt at sobriety.
Which even though we're not ready, because I compare myself to you, because I compare myself in now, not out. Like, I was the same way. But it's funny, even for me, even going around that first time, I heard so much stuff, and I did see the light in these people's eyes. I was like, this shit's working for them. I was like, but not for me. I think even those failed attempts, we can build on those.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And you know where to go. I mean, for people listening to this right now, to go to a meeting is huge if you already have or you're struggling, because you know where the meeting is. You go there. It's like a door you break through. And now you don't want to go back out because you could get drunk and you could die. But once you go, you know where to go. Far away isn't far away anymore if you've been there,
Yeah, like you said, it gives you a place to go. Like with my first attempt, I went to some place that I wasn't used to going to, that I wasn't comfortable at. The second time, I went to a place that I was familiar with being a church, because I was at that church for 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
And the fear wasn't AA. The fear was going to that church and being in an AA meeting and having somebody
see you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and sure enough, I'm there for a little while, and my fear comes to fruition. My wife's best friend's husband was there one night when I was there for an AA meeting, and he just looked at me and he goes, "What are you doing here?" I just looked at him and I said, "I'm going to an AA meeting." He just looked at me and said, "Good for you." And that was like, okay, I just got goosebumps when I remember that happening.
How has it changed for you, Calvin? Like with going public, quote unquote, air quotes, it's not like you've gone to, go tell them on the mount, but now it's something you're very open about, and you can help other people.
That's the whole idea is because, in AA, it's service and being of service. And that's what I'm hoping that I can do. If I can help one person, I've done my job. I mean, not that I don't want to help more, but one person will help another person, and it's like, it's giving back, and that is the whole idea behind AA, is helping one person get sober, and then you go on from there, and I mean the whole thing with this is helping people.
What are some of the things, or the one major thing that you did along the ride, getting sober in recovery, that you're most proud of?
Being able to get up at that one meeting. Actually, the first meeting I led was because my sponsor made me lead a meeting one time, and I was like petrified. because I really don't like getting up in front of people. I don't know if you saw me before the meeting you were at. I was shaking. I was nervous, and now I can do this over the phone all day long. Q and A's, I can deal with Q and A's, but that first meeting where I led the meeting, that was pretty cool. I was petrified, but once I got going on it, then because it's like the first time I actually really told kind of my story, just because it's a short introduction type thing. But that's when I started to open things. Things started to open up, and I started to feel a little more with the group.
Dude, and I had no idea, by the way, that you were an alcoholic. And I went to a meeting the Sunday before you spoke, and I'm talking to our man Mark E. And at the end of the meeting, he's selling everybody. So he goes, next week, Calvin S. And I'm thinking like, I wonder if this Calvin S guy must be pretty important. And it just so happened I was talking to Mark after the meeting, and he said, yeah, you're going to want to see this guy. He's a pro ball player. And for whatever reason, I had no clue about your history, but I knew you were a Texas guy. I'd heard you around Austin. I said, is it Calvin Schiraldi? He said, you'll have to see. And lo and behold, it was. I mean, it's so cool to see you and for you to come out and humanize that, to say, hey, I get nervous to speak in public. You pitched in the World Series. You're a great major league player,
But it's something that I'm not comfortable with. I've never been that kind of person, though. It's still uncomfortable, but it's something that I have to do.
Do you find yourself like the self-esteem building the more and more you do that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's all about comfort, and I'm getting more comfortable, especially writing that book. I threw it all out there in the book, so I've got nothing else to hide. So there it is. You either like it or you don't, or you either like me or you don't.
You talked about in the book people emailing you a lot. Just, assholes, dude, emailing you that can't let it go. And you say in the book, a normal person would have let these emails go and just hit delete. And you were like drawn to them. It's like that sick alcoholic mind. Like you lived in that torture.
Well, I got some not too long ago. The same guy did watched the 30 for 30, and he sends me a list of emails, and I still have them.
Fuck that guy, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. But now I laugh at it.
Yeah, exactly. And
now I'm laughing because I think this guy's a 40-year-old dude living in his mom's basement, fat and just all he does is sit on his computer.
Well, and that's exactly probably what he is. I mean, if he's not exactly that, he's some version of that, mentally or emotionally. And nowadays, you there? Mikey, stick with me, all right? I'll call him right back. We'll wrap up soon.
I don't know where I lost you.
That's okay. Pretty much. We were talking about, that guy and who that person is in general, that person that sends those emails. You had it rough in a sense where mental health, and not that you had mental health issues, but we went through a rough time and alcoholism and all that stuff. Nowadays, everybody's coming out, into the light. I mean, if, Simone Biles leaves the Olympics, everybody's like worried about her, Yeah. It was your era was a lot different.
A lot different, yeah. That didn't happen back then. That was taboo to think that mentally you couldn't handle it.
Yeah, or to talk to somebody about it. Like now they got a sports therapist on speed dial.
Oh yeah, they're visiting them regularly. That just wasn't the case back then. It was, man up, handle your business.
I'm gonna let you go soon, but how has your life changed getting sober? And through sobriety, like seeing you speak, you can just tell you got this energy coming off you. Your wife and I think was your son there or your daughter was there?
My daughter and granddaughter, yeah.
Yeah, and your wife. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It really has. But what the biggest thing that I've noticed since being sober is I'm able to see. I always had faith, but what I've been able to see is God working in my life. The small things that He does, just the little reminders that yeah, I'm still here and I'm still watching you. Those kind of things are, when I'm drinking, I never saw them, and now I'm able to see to realize, okay, you're still here, you still love me, and I'm good with that, and that's all I need.
What's your relationship like with your family now?
It's pretty darn good. My wife and I are still working through some things, but it's with the kids, it's fantastic. I lost the respect when I was drinking, and now I think they would both tell you that they're proud of me for doing what I've done, getting sober and just like the personality change. I'm more engaged with them, with what they're doing, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I was in a meeting today. I went to a new meeting here, and a woman who regularly comes to this meeting showed up with the guy, and it's the guy's first day, and he shares it's about his first day, and drinking has been, starting to ruin his life, or has ruined his life. He always considered himself a functional alcoholic. And he said, for those of you who don't know, and he pointed to the woman next to him, he said, she's my ex-wife, but I've seen the change in her through this program so much that I've asked her, what's up? And now here I am sitting with you guys because I know I have a drinking problem. I just didn't know where to go. And that's what happens. It's probably what your kids see in you now.
Yeah. And I just, and I just want it to continue, and it's going to continue.
Well, and doing stuff like this, it'll continue. Here's the last thing I want to say. You talked about, getting those emails, and a buddy of yours on a hunting trip years ago talked about the man in the arena, the Theodore Roosevelt quote. And I want to read it really quick because it speaks to you putting yourself in the arena as an athlete. And also I think it applies to AA. When you try to get sober, it's the arena, you win, you lose. But when you're outside of that, and you can talk shit on anybody who's trying to get sober or say you don't have a problem, but the moment somebody puts a foot forward and tries to, I think they enter the arena. I'm just going to read it real quick.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, here it is. The man in the arena. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or whether the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. The person who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of the high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. Theodore Roosevelt. And that's kind of, you've been in the arena all your life, and now you're back in it with sobriety. It's got to feel good.
It feels awesome. It's the cold and timid souls that formed their opinion of me. Now it's them sitting on the side watching me be successful.
And you're helping other people too.
That's right.
Dude, I can't thank you enough for your time. What's going to happen is we'll put this podcast up on Thursday, and then when your book comes out, we'll put it up again.
Awesome.
And I'll see you around campus, brother.
All right, man. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Calvin. Later.
All right, man. See you.
Thanks so much for listening to The Payoff with Pete. Once again, I'm Pete Souza. And of course, we are part of the Rogue Media Network. All kinds of good podcasts you can find at roguemedianetwork.com. And of course, you can find this podcast and all those other ones wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, other spots like that.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Join the ultimate celebration of digital content with its creators, passionate fans, and industry experts. It's all happening in downtown Waco across multiple venues on January 20th through the 22nd, 2023. Tickets are on sale now at RogueCon23.com.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't rap, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.